Okay, I'm calling this city council meeting to order on May 6th. It is 7:35. Addie, would you call the roll, please?
Larson.
Here.
Petrus.
Here.
Cobb.
Here.
Kuda.
Here.
Russell. Posh. Maddox.
Here.
Okay. Any amendments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Do we have any objections or anything to any of the minutes from March 18th or April 1st? Any additions, subtractions? Nothing? Okay. Then we will move on to item number 6, which is a presentation by the Northeastern Ohio Sewer District. And we have, is this Matt Sharver?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. And I understand you have a presentation.
Good evening, council members. Matt Sharver, I'm the Director of Watershed Programs at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. And this evening, we wanted to provide council with an update on the Lower Shaker Lake Dam Reconstruction Project. And I just want to start off, before I get started, I just wanted to introduce two of my colleagues that are here from the sewer district. First, Dennis Zaharia is our project manager on the project, and Francisco Rivera is our watershed team leader, who is our liaison with both Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights, so they're here this evening. But first, I just want to orient council. I think you're all probably familiar with the Lower Lake location, boundaries by the North Park Boulevard and South Park Boulevard. Coventry to the west, Coventry Road to the west. So we're looking at the bottom of the screen from upstream to downstream as we go up to the upper left corner. But the inset map is the important piece that I wanted to point out in this slide. And that shows outlined in yellow is the watershed for the Dome Brook. And circled in white there is Lower Lake. And just a reminder that Lower Lake is the control point in this part of the watershed, particularly the upper watershed where the North Branch and the Middle Branch converge to feed into Lower Lake, and then providing some flood control management on downstream for University Circle and Martin Luther King Boulevard Jr. down below in the watershed. So I just wanted to refresh memories on project goals. We have 4 of them that we're carrying through the project. So first and foremost is public safety. So we want to make sure that the dam deficiencies that have been assessed and brought forth by the state of Ohio, particularly the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Dam Safety Program, are adequately addressed. It's also important that we reduce flood risk to the immediate neighborhood and downstream. So some of you may be aware that Coventry and North Park Boulevard do experience flooding during rain events, particularly severe events. There are pieces of Dome Brook that need to be stabilized immediately downstream of Lower Lake. And then throughout all of this, we want to integrate the dam safety, the necessary dam safety components into the historical and cultural context of the park space. So that'll be woven into the project as we move forward. So a little bit on the timeline. So we're in the pre-design phase, and this was launched last August. So it's about a 1-year pre-design phase, and we're well into it. And you can see in the gold bars below that kind of highlight this design, pre-design stage. We've conducted our very important field surveys and data collection and the critical existing conditions assessment, which was brought forth a lot of good information that we're using to move towards our alternatives development and evaluation. So at that end of that alternatives development, we'll have a report to the district from our consultant team that we'll share with the cities. And hopefully that will allow us to make a selection on a recommendation and then move into a detailed design, which will be another year-long period before we move into bidding and construction in 2027. So we've got quite a ways to go in the project. Another reminder on Class 1 dams. This is a high hazard Class 1 dam, Lower Lake, Lower Shaker Lake. There are 3 criteria that the state uses to determine hazard classification or dam classification. One is height. So you can see there, Lower Lake is in the category 4. For storage, we're in Class 3, but the probable loss of human life or damage to property trumps both of those and makes it a high hazard Class 1 dam under the state's regulations. So you can see the red X there off to the right. So it is a Class 1 dam. And with that come certain standards. Roles and responsibilities, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources assesses the dam for public safety, and they're responsible to make sure that all these dams meet state compliance standards. So that information has been conveyed to both cities of Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights, who then need to comply with those state requirements. City of Cleveland is the underlying property owner. Council is well aware that both the cities of Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights have long-term leases with the City of Cleveland to operate this dam structure. And then the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, through our Regional Stormwater Management Program, brings funding and expertise to solve this inter-community drainage issue and reconstruct the dam for those purposes. So a little bit on the dam deficiencies. As I mentioned before, we've gone through an extensive existing conditions analysis. What's important to know here is that there are several items of non-compliance in terms of what Ohio Department of Natural Resources regulates. First and foremost, the dam cannot pass what is called the probable maximum flood, and I'll have a little bit more information on that on the next couple of slides. Additionally, the existing spillway, that area that conveys water through the dam currently, the stone structure, also called the principal spillway, is well undersized, can't convey the storm events that it should. The earthen dam was beginning to be constructed in the 1830s and was added to, but certainly far before modern standards for construction of earthen dams. And so it's very vulnerable to erosion and failure when these larger storm events occur. And then the crest of the dam or the top of the dam is uneven. So if you're looking downstream, if you're in the lake looking downstream at the dam, off to your right, there's a low area. The right side of the dam is lower than the middle and the left. And so that's where the water escapes out onto North Park Boulevard into Coventry during significant rain events. And I think a lot of us have seen that occur in recent time. So the existing conditions, again, showed us some interesting things. And it was just illustrating a couple of these points, but the map on the right brings this graphically to us. The current existing principal spillway, where the black arrow is moving through the dam, only carries 1/3 of the flow. The other 2/3 of flow, when the lake rises during large storm events, escapes out that right side, or that low point in the crest or the top of the dam. That's the elevation that's outlined in green at 904.20. So that's where the water escapes out into North Park Boulevard, Coventry, and causes flooding at the intersection and beyond. So that's a problem, a significant problem. Dams are not supposed to allow water to escape where it shouldn't. We certainly don't want water moving over an earthen embankment because of erosion can occur, and then if that were to continue uncontrolled, could lead to a breach and then an ultimate failure of the dam. So I talked a little bit about the probable maximum flood event. That is an event that the state uses to make sure that public safety is certain on any dam of a Class 1 nature, high hazard dam. And in this case, that's about 26 inches in a 24-hour period. So it's a pretty excessive rain event, not something that we typically see. However, from an engineering standpoint, that dam must be able to convey those flows. To give you a sense of what that means, a 100-year event that we talk about frequently is about 5¼ inches in a 24-hour period. So it's a very significant event, but again, the state requires that from a public safety standpoint, the dam structure is engineered to carry those flows. Unfortunately, currently, Lower Lake Dam only conveys 2% of the probable maximum flood, where it's required to convey 100%. So it's woefully inadequate to carry that storm event. So thus the need for reconstruction of the dam. So we wanted to introduce this evening some of the elements that are necessary to bring the dam into compliance. First is the idea of a concrete gravity dam and possibly embankment overtopping. Now, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. However, based on our existing conditions analysis and our beginning of our alternatives analysis, it appears that a concrete gravity dam, which is simply a concrete block in the middle of the dam to take the place of the earthen embankment, would appear to be the least impactful on the surrounding landscape. So we can surgically put this concrete structure in place to limit the amount of impact to the surrounding landscape. Accompanying that may be overtopping protection, so a hardening of the top of the embankment to ensure that when we purposefully direct flows over the embankment, it does not erode. So the concrete gravity dam would be in the middle. We would cover that with soil, so it looks as if it does today, but it's hardened and can withstand heavy flows, and then overtopping protection to protect it further. The second element are flood walls, or they're also called training walls. So those are highlighted in the pink colors on the North Park Boulevard side and a smaller section on the South Park Boulevard, where the number 2s are located on the lake. The flood wall's purpose is to direct flows and contain them within the lake boundary, and then direct the flows over the top of the embankment during high flows, either that 100-year event or greater, up to that probable maximum flood. So this will be a new feature that's being proposed at Lower Lake. The third element is the improvement of the principal spillway. Again, it needs to be physically reconstructed to convey flows properly. And then the addition of an auxiliary spillway or an additional spillway to convey additional flows through the embankment, which you can see demarcated by the number 4 there. These elements are in the pre-design process, so we have not landed on exactly what they're going to look like, how they're going to function hydraulically, but we know that these elements are part of the improvements that will be necessary to make the dam compliant with ODNR's dam safety program standards. So just going back to the timeline, we're in that pre-design stage. We have 1 year of detailed design yet to go once we finish the pre-design stage, and then construction wouldn't occur till 2027. So we have a long ways to go. And just wanted to note here, you can see the blue arrow there. Public event number 2 is fast approaching here in May. And so we'll have our second public meeting on May 20th virtually. So we'll have a virtual presentation with a little more length and detail than what we're providing council this evening from 6 to 7. And then 2 in-person sessions the following day on Tuesday, May 21st at the Shaker Lakes Nature Center, one in the midday and one in the early evening, so that we can answer questions, spend more time with folks and bring them up to speed on all these different elements that we're working through in terms of the pre-design part of the project. So with that update, I'll be happy to take any questions from council.
I'm looking to my left, I'm looking to my right. So are both of the lakes, I mean, I know Horseshoe Lake is gone, but were they both man-made lakes?
They were both man-made. So both dams, Horseshoe Lake Dam and Lower Lake Dam, were built by the Shakers.
Okay. And I'm looking at the meetings you've had. So what did you learn from the first public meeting that you had?
The first public meeting that we had last October was at the dam site on Lower Lake. It was a good opportunity just to hear some initial feedback from folks, introduce folks to the fact that the dam does have safety compliance standards with the state and would need to be reconstructed. So it was a gathering of information about how folks use the park space, what they like about the park space. And then we've since had a survey that we've put out. I think we've had over 600 responses to that. So we'll be giving folks feedback on those survey results soon at the May 20th meeting. But again, just learning how folks use the park space, particularly around the dam, as we try to fit this necessary infrastructure upgrade into the existing park space.
Very good. Unfortunately, we have a meeting that night, but maybe somebody from the audience can go and tell us what happened.
Well, it'll be recorded, so you'll be able to
okay.
watch it at your leisure, and then certainly the following day we'll have 2 in-person sessions. So, and then we can certainly come back to council at any time to give you additional updates.
Thank you, Mr. Sharver. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, next we have an update from a library person who, okay, you know what? I didn't know it was you. Unfortunately, Nancy Levin couldn't make it tonight, but I'm so glad you're here. And you brought some props.
I did.
And somebody who just left might have left keys on the floor, or what am I seeing? Here.
Okay. All right. So you know what? I'll go over here so everybody can see. But I should introduce myself.
please.
I'm Kim Denaro Ackroyd. I'm the Deputy Director of the Cleveland Heights University Heights Public Library. And I'm a 23-year resident of Cleveland Heights personally. All right.
And there are a lot of exciting things going on.
So I'll see you here.
There's a portable mic.
Yeah, you're gonna have to use a mic. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I don't do this that often. All right. So I need a third hand, but I can show everybody. First of all, I'm going to talk about the soon to be reopened expanded Noble branch over on Noble Road. And this graphic is on display at the Lee Road Library in case you want to take a closer look at it. But we are reopening Noble. Hi, Anthony. Are you going to help me? Thank you. Thank you. In all the best ways. So we're reopening. Our grand opening is on Sunday, June 2nd from 2 to 4. And we're also going to simultaneously be kicking off our summer reading program, which is not just for kids, but also for adults. It's good to set a good example. So here's a schematic of what faces Noble Road. This is part of the extension. Now, probably everybody knows that we bought the closed church that was on Kirkwood, and so we have a little more than doubled our space. So we're excited about that. On the first floor, we have a dedicated teen room, dedicated storytime room, dedicated computer lab, dedicated makerspace, and 2 meeting rooms on the main level and 2 meeting rooms on the basement level. And 4 rooms that can be made into 2 on each level. So we can have a total of 4 rooms or 2 large rooms. So again, I've got everything here that's color coded. So I've given you the brief highlights. We also have an outdoor space that you can see figures here that will expand. I can't remember how many square feet that is, but it's an open green space where we can have performances. In fact, we're actually going to be hosting Shakespeare in the Park, which normally was at the Coventry Peace Park. This summer, it will be on the Noble grounds, so we're excited about that. So we'll be able to accommodate those performances as well. Parking. Drive-through window for materials. It will be our only branch that has a drive-through window. So, in a nutshell, that's Noble. I am happy to answer any questions about Noble before I move on.
And if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
there is some kind of stage outdoors for performances and so forth?
Well, the stage, I think you're confusing with the Coventry Peace Park, which is what
No,
I'm gonna,
actually,
at Noble.
I thought that was supposed to be part of the library.
It'll be, it's not as big as the Peace Park.
Right.
Yeah, because that's where Shakespeare in the Park. Sorry, I'm thinking about the amphitheater, confusing my projects. But yeah, there will be just kind of a simple performance space
Sure.
at Noble.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Larson?
Thank you.
Gail.
Hi, Kim. I cannot tell you how excited we are.
We are too.
And it's just in time because the kids will be getting out of school.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they will be able to enjoy this facility right off the bat. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I should also mention that we are expanding staff as well. In fact, we've been doing some really power hiring lately, which is great. So expanded staff to cover the expanded space.
Nice.
All right. So, and like I said, this graphic is on display on the second floor of the Lee Road Library, and we'll have it there till we reopen and probably a little bit beyond that. All right. I'll move on. Thank you.
Your trusty assistant, I'm sure, will help you with this.
Exactly. Oh, I have it's upside down. So the second update is about the Coventry Peace Park renovation. So I'll give you all some dates, first of all, which is that the park will close on Monday, June 17th. I have to think, yeah, that's the right day of the week. So that will close, and then our groundbreaking begins on July 7th, and the renovation will happen. I'll talk about that in a moment. Our projected date for reopening is December 8th, but if we can get it open sooner, that would be our preference. And I'll talk about some of the renovations there. So I'll start with the amphitheater, which I was just confusing with the Noble one. So that's going to be at the south end, closer to Euclid Heights Boulevard. And that will have, it's a small amphitheater that we received a generous donation to have that added. And then here is the new playground, basically in the footprint of the old one. Our big Cardinal, which will be at part of the new big slide, that's on here as well as a small picture of that. And then we've got a half-court basketball court, here where my finger is, and then a toddler playground beside that. And we have planted already over 100 new trees. We did have to take out trees, many of which were diseased, which we were sorry about, but we have countered with over 100 new trees planted. And some of those are even in the area to the east of where the Coventry Peace Building is, in that, the mini forest is what we call that. What else? Oh, the shaded and accessible 1/5 mile walking path that goes along the park as well. So any questions I can answer about the Peace Park? Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
A lot of great things going on.
All right.
All right, Mayor, you got a tough act to follow.
Thank you, Mr. President. So got a few things to announce today. The first is that I know probably several people are here as a result of the purchase agreement, development agreement with TWG being on the agenda. And so I wanted to speak just very briefly to that. We've gone through a very long process to reach this point where this is before council again. I believe that there have been quite a few opportunities for public engagement on this project, and I want to thank our development partners for, sort of pushing through and continuing to reach out to the residents about this. I also recognize that there is no perfect development that suits the needs of every single person. And I do not know at this point whether or not council will vote to approve this deal or not. But I do want to just state from my perspective as the mayor that I do believe that there is a need regionally, certainly, and in this community as well, for high quality, affordable housing. And that can come in a variety of different ways. That can come through, incessant pounding on existing landlords to get their properties into shape, and that's something that I'm committed to. And certainly now that we are at full staff in our building and inspectional services division, that is somewhere that we're going to go. It also means new construction, and this is an example of that. The reason for this is that I believe everybody, no matter your income level, deserves healthy, safe, and hopefully beautiful housing in our community. And so I wanted to thank TWG and Start Right Again for going through this process with us as a community and continuing and persevering through some difficult times. Beyond that, this is sort of the culmination potentially of a purchase, a land purchase, that we have made contingent on a development. And that land purchase is sort of being lost, I think, in the forest of this larger discussion about affordable housing and design. But it is, at its core, a land purchase. And TWG and StartRight, as partners, are expecting, if this passes, to pay $216,000 for the purchase price of this land. And I've been thinking about that purchase price for a while now. And I want to state here, for the first time, I guess, publicly, that as their mayor, I am committing to the people of the neighborhoods surrounding the Noble Nela Business District and the business owners within that district, that every cent of that purchase price, should council choose to move forward with this, will be reinvested in the Noble Nela Business District and the neighborhoods surrounding it. I believe that that is, of course, the best possible use of that funding. I don't believe it is a floor. That is, or that's a ceiling to the amount of investment that we need to make in that business district specifically. But it is definitely something that, I think is the most fitting way to spend that purchase price. Additionally, I know that we are, going through this longer Noble Corridor planning process. And please do take a look at all of the events that we have planned and continue to. Planning is just the start. Planning is a wonderful thing for us to do so that we know what the roadmap is, but just like this development, just like planting a tree at the corner of Nela View and Noble for Arbor Day and preparing that site for a small park space, the little wins as well. We still move forward even while we're planning. So I want to encourage people to take a look at this project as one of those potential little wins. And beyond that, I know that through this process over the next couple weeks, council will be encouraging people in the community to reach out and provide their input. And so I'd like to encourage people to do that as well. We know that this project doesn't appeal to everyone, but there are very many people who it does appeal to. And so we'd like to hear from everyone, both for and against this project, so that council can make an informed decision. All right, my second announcement is that, as we all know, it's May. And so probably for the entire month of April and maybe March as well, we've been all looking forward to May and thinking about grass. And so I wanted to make an announcement that this year we are not participating in what we have lovingly decided to call No Mo May. However, and I'll tell you, the impetus behind No Mo May is laudable. The idea is that turf grass is an ecological disaster. We may love it. We may think that it looks beautiful when it is perfectly maintained. But as a society, we have set aside so much productive space to a completely unproductive crop. Actually, the only thing that it produces is labor for humans to cut it frequently. It produces generally particulates in our atmosphere from the lawnmowers that we use and the leaf blowers that we use to maintain those lawns. And the purpose behind No Mo May is to provide an opportunity for people to re-envision that space and maybe use it in a more productive way. It was never about tall grass. We don't want to encourage tall grass. And so obviously, other than being a wonderful conversation starter last year, No Mo May was a bit of a failure, but we learned from those things. And so this year we are celebrating Grow More May, which is not, advice to stop mowing your lawn, but it is a place where we can prepare people and encourage people to take some of that turf grass, that area in your lawn devoted to turf grass, and maybe plant something else. Whether it's a pollinator garden or even some ground cover that you don't have to mow as frequently and you don't have to water as frequently. Perhaps a rain garden in your yard, something that produces a bit more for our community and takes a bit less of our resources than turf grass does. So I did want to encourage people to take a look at our website and look for resources and sign up for what we're calling our Urban Garden Project. If you sign up for the Urban Garden Project, we will be asking you a series of not too invasive questions about your project. We'd like to know how much of your yard you're converting so that we can do an estimate of what the impact might be on our community, both in regards to emissions and in regards to the benefit to pollinators. So we'd like to hear more about your projects, and if you do sign up for the Urban Garden Project, we will be placing, if you'd like, this handy little sign to let your neighbors know that you're not just, growing some weeds. You are growing an intentional and focused garden in your yard. So the Urban Garden Project, and feel free if you'd like to take a look at the QR code and get some more information about the Urban Garden Project as well. All right, and so the last thing, and we've got some distinguished guests here tonight. And so the last thing that I would like to announce is my congratulations. So I've issued 2 proclamations, one to Caleb Green and one to Nico Bell, for their accomplishment being named National Merit Finalists this year. Congratulations to both of you. And I am not going to read all of them one by one. I'm going to go back and forth between them. So, whereas Caleb Green and Nico Bell are seniors at Heights High School in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and whereas Caleb is taking AP Calculus, Chemistry, Psychology, Spanish, CCP College Composition, and that's the College Credit Plus College Composition, and has taken several engineering courses from the Heights Career Tech programs, and whereas Nico is enrolled in Ohio's College Credit Plus program and spends her school day at Cleveland State University. And whereas Nico is president of Heights High's Gender and Sexualities Alliance and is a member of the varsity girls soccer team, the National Honor Society, and the Academic Challenge team, which won the Nordson Academic Challenge Championship and qualified for the National Academic Quiz Tournament's national competition. Congrats on that, too. Whereas Caleb is the vice president of the National Honor Society, plays on the varsity boys tennis and hockey teams, and is a co-founder of the Heights High Ping Pong Club. And whereas Nico and Caleb joined more than 1.3 million students in the United States by taking the Preliminary Scholastic Aptitude Test, or the PSAT, and entering the National Merit Scholarship Program, and whereas based on their PSAT scores, academic accomplishments, and commitments to leadership and service, Nico and Caleb were chosen as National Merit Finalists, placing them among the top 1% of students who took the test. And now, absolutely, congratulations. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City of Cleveland Heights and its residents, I issue this proclamation congratulating Nico and Caleb on this achievement, and I wish them continued success as they enter the next stage of their academic careers. Thank you both for being here, and I'm wondering if you'd like to come up with council and me and take some pictures for the press if you want to. All right, come on up. Congratulations. And these are your proclamations. Please, if you come on down. Come get some pictures.
No, go ahead.
Thank you for submitting to this photo op.
As corny as it may be.
As corny as it is. We are really proud.
Did you guys, did you want to open the, there. Go, okay, everybody, I am so sorry. Go, guys. Can you guys move in just, Gail, can you just move in a little bit there? There, perfect. I think we got it. I think we got it. Hold it there, kids. Congratulations. Couple more. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Tom. Did you get this? And with that, Mr. President, that concludes my remarks tonight. Thank you.
You know what? You kept pace with everything. Appreciate that. All right, so what are we doing now? City Administrators Report.
Additional report this evening, Mr. President. I will yield my time to my colleague, Director Ledbetter, who will be giving an update on several key projects.
Very nice.
Good evening, Council. I'll start with the parking garages. There is currently work happening at Cedar Lee Garage. They've done a lot of work on the doors, and there's still some work left to be done on the sort of the floor buttons that they push and a few other minor things. But they anticipate to be completed with that project here fairly shortly. In terms of Coventry Garage, we are collecting scope from Panzica Construction now to give us an opportunity to develop some specs to go out to bid. And there's very similar things are happening at the Surrey Garage. We're working with GPD Engineering on developing a scope so that project can go out to bid here shortly as well. Like I said, we do anticipate Cedar Lee being done first and fairly shortly. In terms of Kane Park, we've got repair to the roof and the amphitheater and the dressing rooms. We are currently working on selecting an engineering firm to work with us to develop a scope of work for Kane Park. We're in the process of doing that right now. In terms of the sound and lighting equipment, staff is gathering cost estimates for those upgrades. We anticipate having those soon so we can start the bid process for that equipment. And lastly, for Cumberland Pool, work completed today on repairing cracks to the surface of the main pool. We've done some repair work on cracks on the toddler pool, so that's also completed. So we do anticipate that opening is on time and on schedule. So we'll be ready for June 3rd opening on that. We'll be onboarding guard staff here shortly. So we're excited to announce an on-time opening for the pool. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay, can you take a few questions?
Sure.
Please, Councilman.
Director Ledbetter, thank you so much for coming and sharing those updates. Do you happen to have any timelines that you might be able to share with us for the Lennox and Coventry garages?
Not at this time. We'll have a better sense once we get the work completed on developing scopes with Panzica and GPD. I'm confident that work, that part of the work will be done here within the next couple of weeks.
Great, great, thank you.
Okay, well, it's my turn, I guess. So on the Cedar Lee Garage, the part of the parking on the ground floor that's closest to the surface lot, Why isn't that being utilized?
I'm not sure.
Kind of gated, separate from, when you go up the ramp and go in.
I may have to look into that and get back to you.
Okay. Yeah, because it looks like I've had some store owners talk about that would be a good place for them to park, and staff, people who work in the neighborhood. Do you have a summary of the feedback that you've gotten on Cumberland Pool from the first round, and when I'm actually speaking about the possible renovation of Cumberland Pool that would, if it does start, and I don't know, maybe you could give us an update on that, when you plan on having a second round of community input.
Yeah, so we're going to wait for the season to start to engage more residents. And so we'll probably do more than one sort of feedback session. And it may take a different, we may do it differently than we did. I think we're going to probably just go out to the pool and engage citizens as they're swimming and using the facility. But because we're waiting, we haven't compiled the information from the first feedback session, so we're going to wait until we get feedback from everyone before we compile it. So we're going to do that at one time. But we got a lot of good feedback from that first community session a couple of months ago.
So do you anticipate that if there is a renovation of Cumberland Pool, that it would start in September?
It's very unlikely.
Okay.
It's very unlikely. At this point, much more likely that it would start in '25.
I see. After the season.
Correct.
Mr. President,
Please.
for additional color to that, the process by which we would first receive permission from council to go out for bid for such a large project, and of course, the necessity for a really intensive community involvement in the decision-making. If we're talking about making any substantial changes, we want to make sure that we have enough runway to do a construction project, do it well, and we don't believe that it makes any sense to rush this if the current state of the pool is in good working order and can provide the amenity that people are used to. Then we can continue for this season, for next season, and not worry about a reconstruction until after that. And this also provides the added opportunity for us to really suss out what our funding mechanism will be for a massive renovation of that pool or a rebuild. So that's the sort of thing that we want to take our time with. We want to do it carefully, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for the people of Cleveland Heights.
I saw the potential price tags, and so, that's certainly takes some planning. Please go.
Hi, Director Ledbetter. I have a question and slightly off topic. I truly apologize, but you were talking about water, so I thought I'd just throw this in. You have any idea about the splash pad?
Yeah, so there's some work that we have to do internally, and we're getting some assistance now from an engineering firm on exactly what needs to happen and how long it'll take and the cost of that. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I apologize because I know that wasn't on your list, but
Not at
just
all.
wanted to throw that in since it was talking about water.
Not at all.
And the Vice President was talking about the potential splash pad at Dennison Park. All right, well, thank you so much for that report. Appreciate it. Okay, next we'll go into public comment.
Nope, we got my report.
Don't want to skip Addie, I'm so sorry.
All right. I actually do have two things to report. First, notice to council that an application has been received from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for the transfer of a D5, D6 liquor permit from Butter Hospitality LLC, doing business as Mojo, to Lee Rest LLC, doing business as Cozumel. This matter has been referred to the mayor and chief of police. I also did receive today another notice from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for an application for a new D1 liquor permit for Zoma Ethiopian Restaurant LLC. This has been resent and has been referred to the mayor and the chief of police.
Okay, and what do you think? Now we go into public comment?
Correct.
First of all, thank you. I love seeing a full house. This is great. I take it we got a lot of, we have a lot of public comments or?
We have several. Yep.
All right.
We'll start with agenda items. Diane Hallam.
All right. And Diane, you know the drill, 3 minutes and state your name and the street you live on. This is for everybody, obviously, not just Diane. And anxious to hear what you have to say. It was.
Diane Hallam, 1059 Oxford Road. As with all Cleveland Heights citizens, decisions in this building directly affect my quality of life in this city. The mayor declares all are welcome, but that isn't true if you live where I do or if you are disabled. To be welcomed means being received with delight, gladness, and gladness relates to being cheerful and willing. Those words cannot in no way describe how this city ignored policies, practices, and planning codes for the TWG development project on Noble Road. Planning staff in all developments elsewhere in the city spend 2 years engaging citizens, numerous meetings, studies, surveys, presentations. They take 1 to 2 years getting them through the approval process. On Noble, a handful of residents met with TWG that they described as unclear and confusing, and immediately the administration was bum rushing it through approval. I sat on the focus group to redesign the TWG plan. I and others clearly stated we had sticking points about the project, increased traffic on residential streets, inadequate parking, and lack of plans by the city to address the numerous vacant and raggedy high-density apartment buildings that line Noble Road. Not our focus, we were told by the development team. Let's just focus on the building's redesign, it told our group. But then that team claimed here in this building the focus group approved the entire project, and is now angry with participants like me who insist on a traffic study, parking solutions, or point out other issues with the project. You see, it turns out the team in the city had agreed long ago to not do follow the code requiring traffic study for Noble Road and didn't want us to know that. They didn't care about the increase in traffic on our residential streets or the safety it poses on a street already heavy with congestion and complaints of speeding cars crashing through stop signs. We are equally viewed as dullards with regard to the mayor's Noble Road Corridor Comprehensive Planning Study, begun theoretically in February. But the planning staff is using data with 67% error rates to describe, measure conditions here, supposedly decide what we need or deserve. Problem properties to them were not the numerous high-density apartment buildings that sit vacant and decrepit along Noble Road. Nope, they made it clear it was the dedicated, hardworking, and proud 20 to 40-year-long homeowners making up over % of attendees at that February meeting. They were the real problem in our community. After lecturing us, they ordered us to report houses using the city's service reporting system. I tried. Last month, I told the mayor and the mayor's action committee I and others in the city do not have the telecommunications technology to access those service reporting applications. I explicitly said my system, like others, could not load the report map. The response: a mocking set of instructions with screenshots on how to navigate from the city's homepage to the map I was told to click on. I am barred from complaining about city services because I don't have the technological savviness required by the administration. My article in the recent Heights Observer describes a more heinous barrier created by city staff to the disabled when I tried to get to the city's March Noble Road planning meeting. To prevent a repeat, I suggested the mayor ensure the notice for the April meeting alert attendees of 2 handicapped accessible options, a chairlift and a ramp. I also suggested having someone greet and direct people to those options should they need them. Upon arriving at the meeting last week, I asked the woman at the sign-in table if someone was doing what I had suggested. She said I was the only disabled person who was coming to the meeting, the only one. How and why would staff member make such a rude, disrespectful claim? I am not the only disabled person in my community, nor the city. I felt her hostility as she felt it was okay to ignore residents with bad knees, injuries, or with heart or stroke conditions. All are welcome, says the mayor, but that is not true. And if for it to begin, it has to begin at the top. The mayor is aware of how our community on the north side has been treated. He has not cared. He is aware of how the disabled are barred from city meetings, events, and
Diane, we got to wrap
he
it
does
up.
not care. So it's no surprise when we're shown that we are not welcome by some in City Hall.
Thank you.
Cynthia Banks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Banks, and I also got to sit in on the focus group for the Noble Station project. Initially, I was not a supporter of that project, but after working with Reverend Hicks and Paul Volpe and the TWG representative, I felt that we did have a lot of say-so in the project. And at this point in time, I would have to say that I am a supporter of the project. I'd like to see more development, but I feel like this is a start. I also wanted to say that we, in our neighborhood, we appreciate the meetings from the city, but the format of the past two meetings has been ineffective for us. The format, I feel, needs to go back to one where we have presentations, one where we maybe have an imposed 3-minute limit as we do in council, because I missed a give and take of the participants in the meeting with the information that's given for your plans for our area. So I'd just like you to take that into consideration, but I would like to say that I felt like participating in the focus groups was very helpful. I feel like the new building is a quality building. There's a long way to go, but I do feel like it's a good start.
Thank you.
Cecil Gamble, or Cecil, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to have a few words. I'm Cecil Gamble. I'm a 49-year resident of Cleveland Heights. I can tell you now that when the project is done, I will be able to look out of my window and see it. And based upon the new design that I have seen, I don't mind looking at that. So I just want you to know, as a resident and someone who has to look at it every day, I like it.
That matters.
Melody Joy Hart.
Like a guy who's right to the point there.
Hi, I'm Melody Joy Hart, 2976 Monmouth Road. I'm here to speak on legislation 81-2024, the Cedar Lee SID Plan of Services and Budget. I request that council consider amending the agenda to pass this on first reading tonight. Why? As you might recall, the SID was unable to obtain their signatures on time last year and have had to start the reprocess. What does this mean? Well, it means this year there's not going to be any flowers. It means this year not going to be any landscape maintenance. It means next winter there's not going to be any plowing of the sidewalks. This is not good. This is going to hurt our business district, which is already hurt by construction. So we don't want to further harm the business that's already been impacted. The tight timeline, as you heard in Committee of the Whole, will make it all the more difficult to accomplish in the appropriate timeline. An extra 2 weeks would even be helpful. Any amount of time additional would be helpful. It would show council support of an important business district. Please pass this tonight on first reading. Second thing, in legislation 079 and 080, I commend the change in process that has involved considerable public input and improved design. I thank StartRight and the developer for doing this public input, and they've also hired, they're working with a talented local architect with our city's best interests at heart, who has given a much improved design. I commend the mayor for taking proceeds of the land sale and putting it to Noble Neela, and I also commend you for getting rid of that No Mow May thing.
Okay. All right.
Tanya Horn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Horn, 840 Grayton Road. I was not a supporter of the TWG project when it first came to us, but we have come a long way to get here. I appreciate the opportunity for the community to have a voice about this project when we learned about it. At that time, the project and the process excluded engaging the community. We spoke out and the council listened. TWG returned requesting an opportunity to do better and make it right, and I was one who supported them, giving them an opportunity to start over. I participated in the focus group and appreciate being included in the process. Kudos to TWG for consulting with Paul Volpe, who created a beautiful structure. Having Start Right to facilitate it, they did a great job hosting us. The presence of the city and the council to some of the meetings showed their commitment to Noble area. The focus group contributions and our ability to have a voice and voice our concerns. And most important, the transparency and the education of this project was appreciated. My initial concerns still do exist and can't be addressed by TWG. The need for amenities in our area, restaurants, pharmacy, other businesses, and a needed facelift to the existing business district. Support of infill housing and the increase of that will increase property value and safety for our area. Despite all this, I do support this project. There is a crisis in this country for affordable housing, and this is a start for Cleveland Heights to address this problem. But it can't be only the Noble area where affordable housing exists. As developers come to our city and want to build, the city and the council can request and require mixed income housing throughout the city. Cleveland Heights can no longer continue to be the tale of two cities. To the city, the momentum you are creating for a better community on the north side of Cleveland, it is my hopes that the concerns of the focus group and others be heard and the momentum continues. Not just talk, but action. You have heard our voice loud and clear, our needs and our wants. Let's begin to put action behind the plan and be creative, inclusive, and equitable in the city that we all desire to have. Thank you.
CJ Nash.
CJ Nash, Vandermar Street. After she said all that, I feel like I don't need to stand up here. Because I agree with everything she just said. As you know, I was one of the people who seriously did not want this project. It made me very mad, actually. And I was on the focus group also. And the changes that they made, the way they listened to us, the way they worked with us, and their patience with us was great. Really changed my mind on the whole thing when I saw what they ended up designing and what they're going to go with. And I agree with everything that Tanya said. It does not solve all the problems on Noble Road. We have a lot of problems in the Noble area, and you guys are all aware of that. And we have a project now that we're starting with the city to study the area and to bring Noble up to the standards that the rest of Cleveland Heights expects. So that, as Tanya said, we don't have a tale of two cities anymore. It would have been wonderful to have the street done first, but that's not the way it worked. We are fortunate, in my opinion, to have a nice development like this, because I think this is going to be pretty nice. On one end of the street, or one end of Noble, we've got this, and on the other end of Noble, we've got a brand new library. And to me, those set the bar, and they're kind of like bookends to me as examples of what we need to do with the rest of Noble. And I know that the work that needs to be done for the rest of Noble is going to take a number of years, and it's going to take the residents and the business owners and the council and the city staff to stay on it, not to drop the ball on this, and keep working. And over time, I think we're going to have a really nice area. So thank you.
All right, that's it for legislative items. Moving on to non-agenda items, we've got Don Seidel.
Thank you for letting me make comment. My name's Don Seidel. I've been a resident in 2212 Westminster for almost 45 years. I'm here because I'm frustrated I can't get a response from the city. I have an email message string that started October 31st, which said, please provide a copy of the law, ordinance, regulation that authorizes the city to invoice, and I attached a copy of the invoice, for EMS services to the residents. I got the next day, and that was sent to the Mayor's Action Center. Next day, I got a response, and it said that the resolution number 64-2022 provides the referenced authorization, to which I replied right away. My review of resolution 64-2022, and I attached a copy, pertains to Life Force Management Incorporated, as it pertains to billing of ambulance services. I assume my bill was prepared by that company. I also understand that company handles authorized invoices on the behalf of the city. My question below, however, was, please provide a copy of the law/ordinance regulation that authorizes the city to invoice for EMS services to its residents. I realize that non-residents may receive EMS services, i.e. a traffic accident, that the city would be able to bill for its services. My inquiry is the law that residents are obligated for city services which include EMS. No response. I sent on to Law PRR, I think was for public records request. I asked for response. No response. On November 14th, I sent forwarded that on to Law PRR, also on to the Mayor's Action Center. No response. January 3rd, I then forwarded this on to the mayor and Mr. Kuda. No response. I then sent that on, March 26th to the mayor, the council members, and Mr. Hanna, law director, and the Mayor's Action Center. No response. I've yet to receive a response from the city. It's frustrating. Why can't I understand, or why can't the residents understand what's the basis for their own residents being billed for EMS services? I would like to thank Ms. Larson for a response, letting me know that she hoped I did get a response. I still have not got a response.
Mr. Seidel, I'd be glad to have our clerk follow up on this for you and get.
If she would like to give me her email, I would be happy to forward this email string to her.
And I think the mayor wants to.
Actually, I have a question for Mr. Seidel. It was my understanding, and obviously it seems that I was mistaken, but it was my understanding that the fire chief reached out to you and spoke with you.
I have not received, that's my frustration. I've never received a response from anyone.
Okay, I will make
what
sure
I've
that
told
you get a response. I appreciate you coming here today. My apologies for that oversight.
Can I get the basis of why our residents are billed for EMS services?
I think our law director would probably have to do some research on that in terms of the legal, authorization to do such a thing. I do believe that it is the case. I don't have a reference for you right now, but I'll make sure that you get it.
Okay. And if I may, is Law PRR for a public records request?
It is, yes.
Nothing came. Thank you for letting me speak.
Very sorry about that.
Linda Strejewski.
Good evening. My name is Linda Strejewski. I live on Delamere Drive. I'm the chair of the Charter Review Commission. I'm here tonight to remind everyone that the Charter Review Commission has a May 31 deadline to submit its recommendations to City Council. We will meet that deadline or die in the attempt. And we look forward to meeting after that with Council to discuss our recommendations. But first, we have a second public input meeting scheduled for May 21st at 6 p.m. at the Lee Road Library. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions and comment on the draft recommendations and our report before we send them on to Council. We plan to post those documents on the CRC webpage by May 15th, so the public has an opportunity to look at them before the meeting. We'll have copies at the meeting, but we want to make sure you have them in advance as well. I want to thank City Council and the Mayor for their support of our work. We've also had excellent support from our facilitator, Kevin Butler, and from Assistant Law Director Lee Crumrine. I want to mention the other CRC members as well, because they've all been working very hard on this. And those are Roland Aglin, Harriet Applegate, Graham Ball, Jonathan Ciesla, Drew Herzig, Craig Kluge, Stephanie Morris, and Guy Thielian. We appreciate the interest of the residents who attended our February public meeting and hope to see a good turnout for the May 21st meeting. Residents can sign up at crc@clevelandheights.gov.
Anyone may also send comments to that email address or come to one of our regular meetings. The meeting information is always posted in advance on the webpage. Information about the May 21st meeting was in the latest city newsletter and will be in the Heights Observer. Flyers have been posted around town, and I left some on the chairs here tonight. The flyer does have a QR code for RSVPs. It is helpful if people would sign up in advance so we can prepare for the right number of attendees. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your support.
A quick question, Linda. Is when the people attend the meeting, is it just to inform them, or do they?
No, we will have a very short presentation just to give a brief outline of the changes, but most of the meeting is to allow time for questions and comments from the public.
Got it.
Like we're doing here, 3-minute increments, let other people have a turn. But we want to hear from the public. That's the main purpose of the meeting.
Thank you.
Lynn Quintrell.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Quintrell. I live at 12546 Cedar Road. I've been a Cleveland Heights resident for 23 years, and I'm the owner of Apple Tree Books at 12419 Cedar. My question tonight is, is my store going to be in business next year to celebrate its 50th anniversary? It's 50 years old next year, but the parking dilemmas in the Cedar Fairmount neighborhood are making it very, very difficult for our customers to reach our store. So I'd like to ask the mayor specifically how you can alleviate the parking problem for the public. Permit holders such as myself, I'm okay. But the public is not, and they're very, very confused about where they can park. For Independent Bookstore Day, I had a number of customers. It was one of our biggest days we had all year. People were circling the block because they couldn't figure out where to park. Can I ask you when you're going to tell the public where they are able to park in the Cedar Fairmount neighborhood? It's hurting our business. And I'm very concerned that if this continues, I'm not sure my bookstore is going to be there for its 50th. There aren't too many businesses in Cleveland Heights that have that longevity. So please don't put us out of business and give us a parking solution soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a bit of a response. There is public parking in 2 locations that are not, at this point, deemed too dangerous for parking. We are currently in progress in seeking repairs for the garage at Lennox and Surrey. Just give me a second. There are other possible options for customers to park in that district. We can't obviously magically create more land for such a thing. Currently, I know we've got Mr. Russo here. Mr. Russo certainly has some parking that is not currently being used. And as the CID president, I believe there is possibly the opportunity for the remainder of the building owners and business owners in the district to work with Mr. Russo to provide for additional parking behind the currently vacant store that could possibly serve some of those issues. And additionally, I think unfortunately paid, but only after a certain period of time in the garage at the Ascent is also available for parking for people. I would like to sit down and work with you, though, or perhaps you could work with our planning staff to think about where maybe some wayfinding might go that would best assure your customers in particular where they should park most expeditiously. That would be helpful. I'll have somebody reach out. I'll have somebody, yeah, well, I'm sure we do have staff that sit on the CID as well. So you could reach out if you don't know Brian Anderson's. You do? Okay, so I'll have Brian Anderson reach out to you and get some more.
In the CID for a while.
Yes. Our primary.
My first meeting here before City Council asking this. This is month 3 that we've had no direction from the city for the public.
Well, we don't, like I said, we don't have more public parking to provide, but.
We could work a deal with some of the parking lots that are available.
I think Mr. Russo is here. If you'd like to speak with him, you are welcome to do that as well.
Opportunity to reach out to the other business owners, and I've never heard anything from them.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll have AD Anderson reach out.
Barb Sosnowski.
I'm Barbara Sosnowski, 3863 Northampton. That is north of Mayfield in the Noble Monticello district. And I've been a resident there for 33 years and also been working to beautify that area for around 10 years. Since 2014, I've helped tend different garden beds. One is the ex-CVS in front of the ex-CVS, another one in front of the Longwood Beauty Supply, but the biggest one and the most important one is the one that meets a lot of needs for the community, and it's a space that the city owns, and it is right at Roanoke and Noble, next to the police station, or I should say fire station, that is now a police school. I'm always thankful for the city's re-enhancement. It might be 8 years. I haven't kept track of it, but there are a bunch of pots that I saw in the back of the lot, the old dairy lot. And they have helped to move those on the street and filled them. And they have glorified that noble district for quite a few years. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm very thankful for city workers that work tirelessly to pick up all our refuge and then also deliver some of my needed elements, such as leaf humus and wood chips. But the difficulty I have is having a easy way to request those. And I finally reached out to Mr. Ledbetter, and I realized he's got schedules for parks and contractors and lots and pools and parking lots, and doesn't necessarily find, that priority, which I don't feel it's the highest priority, but to get those wood chips and leaf humus in my lots are important. So an easier way where it can be just another number I can call would be so helpful. My desire is also for all the spaces that the city takes, and it's their space to be tended well. One of them is that police academy, also the mowing at that lot right near the police academy, the Severance Circle that I travel every day and almost wrecked my suspension many times. So there are many things that I'd like to thank, but also request easy access and care for those spaces that are of Cleveland Heights. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. And by the way, I love when I'm just driving by Roanoke and Noble and I just see you out there just doing your thing. It's just beautiful. It's what I love living, why I love living here.
Karen Rego. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
He said he was coming with me. Now he's fine. This is Gavin.
Everybody. Thank you to the mayor and to President Kuda, Vice President Russell, and the rest of City Council for letting me speak this evening. My name is Karen Rico, and I am the president of Cleveland Heights Teachers Union, Local 795. And I'm here to give a big shout out, first of all, to your Vice President Russell. She is also the president of Local 4, the Northeast Ohio OPSES. And she called me, I don't know, it was about a month ago, and asked if we would like to partner with her union and adopting a school in our community. And I knew right away that it was a yes, because of course she said Oxford. And I love the northern part of the city, and we have talked a lot about the northern part of the city this evening. So Oxford and Noble and Monticello are my 3 favorite schools, just in case, for the record. And there are a lot of people who want to help, but the kids all went home that day with a backpack full of non-perishable food items, a brand new book, and gift cards for grocery shopping. And it was a project that took place over several weeks. And we worked in collaboration with so many. So I want to thank the Cleveland Heights, University Heights City Schools. And there are so many people. I just don't have time to mention them all this evening. But I also want to mention there's a lot of churches and a lot of other unions that helped out. And so we've got obviously the Cleveland Heights Teachers Union. We have the Laborers International Union. We have Ohio Coalition of Labor Union Women, Ohio Alliance of Community Education, the Pipe Fitters, Local 120, Calvary Hill Baptist Church. We have Sam's Clubs and the NAACP, the Cleveland Branch, the North Shore AFL-CIO, Cleveland Heights Firefighters Union, Cleveland Heights Police Union, and then, of course, we had all our local OPSEs. And like I said before, I want to thank the Cleveland Heights City School District, but I want to really thank Superintendent Kirby, Nancy Pepler, who were they were amazing in allowing us to let this happen, and it went so smoothly. And the kids in that school were thrilled. And that was Miss Russell. If you want someone to run a show, she's your person, because she was amazing. So thank you so much, and thank you for tonight.
All right.
Ready?
And Karen, you said, Karen, before you go, you said you're the president of the teachers union and a middle school teacher as well?
Middle school teacher. I would teach at Monticello.
Could I just bow to you?
I know.
Thank you.
I used to be a kindergarten teacher. It's kind of like the same.
That's beautiful. All right.
Lita Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Lita Gonzalez. I live on Scarborough Road, and I'm president of the Officer Jason West Memorial Fund. With me tonight is Tom Tomsick. He's one of our board members. He'll be passing out some information to you, if that's okay. On May 26, 2007, Cleveland Heights Police Officer Jason West responded to a routine disturbance call. He was shot and killed as he exited his car. He was first to respond, but sadly, he was the last to leave that night. His death shocked the community. He had always wanted to be a police officer, and Cleveland Heights wasn't just his beat. He had purchased a house in the city, and protecting and serving the city of Cleveland Heights was something that he did willingly every day when he put on his uniform. In response to his death, residents, together with Jason's family, friends, local business owners, and fellow police officers, established a scholarship fund in his memory. Since Officer West believed in the importance of mentoring young people, the organization committee chose to begin awarding scholarships to graduating seniors from Cleveland Heights High School who wanted to pursue a career in criminal justice. We awarded 23 scholarships between 2007 and 2021. 2 of those students, after graduating from college, applied and were accepted to the Cleveland Heights Police Academy. The scholarship paid for their tuition. In 2020, COVID had an extreme impact on us. And then in 2021, the Cleveland Heights University Heights School District decided to discontinue hosting the criminal justice program at the high school. As a result, we started to reorganize the organization. We got a tax-exempt designation from the state of Ohio and a 501c3 from the IRS, and we officially became the Officer Jason D. West Memorial Fund. We have our own board of directors that include representatives from residents, law enforcement, and business communities in the city. In 2023, the city of Cleveland Heights reopened its police academy, and we decided to partner with them and begin giving tuition reimbursement scholarships to graduating open enrollment cadets at the academy when they graduated. We've given 3 scholarships. All 3 of the recipients demonstrated qualities that had endeared Officer West to the Cleveland Heights community and made him an exemplary officer. This session, there are 3 cadets who are applying for the tuition reimbursement. It has been 17 years since Officer Jason West's death. And despite all the changes this organization has gone through, our mission has remained the same: to honor the service and memory of Officer West, to encourage young men and women to pursue a career in law enforcement, and to work towards strengthening the bonds and relationships between young people and the police. Tonight, I am so pleased to give you our 2023 annual report. It's the first annual report we've put together. And also, I want to invite you to our mega fundraising event on May 19th at Boss Dog Brewery on Lee Road. What we have done over the last 17 years would never, ever have been possible without the support of the city, its residents, and its business owners. And we thank you, and we thank them from the bottom of our heart. I know that Jason is looking down, and he's smiling at us. So thank you. Yes.
How much are the scholarships?
When we were giving them to the graduating seniors, they were $500 the first year or $1,000. It depended on how much money we had brought in. And then we would give them a second scholarship when they finished their first year in college. We wanted to encourage them to stay in college. The tuition that we give, the reimbursement, right now the tuition is $5,000. So we have been, we have a pocket of money, depending on how our fundraisers go, and the committee chooses to either give a full tuition reimbursement, partial tuition reimbursement, depending on what we can do.
And you said the Boss Dog may, tell me again?
It's the Boss Dog Brewery on Lee Road. They are opening their doors to us. The businesses in Cleveland Heights have contributed prizes for our raffle, and that's how we get the money. There's no charge to the, the community to come and partake.
But I'm sorry, it's Boss Dog May?
It's May 19th.
May 19th, and what
from
time?
5 to 8.
May 19th, 5 to 8.
And I think Tom gave you little information about it.
Can you see me after the meeting? I'd like to donate $1,000.
Oh, Davida, thank you so much. This is what keeps us going. It's the businesses, it's the residents, it's people like you that come and they help us. And the people that are the beneficiaries are the cadets now that are graduating, and they will either become members of our police office, the police department, or other police departments, but they're getting trained to be the best and caring police officers. We have an amazing police academy, probably one of the best in the States, and they are producing police officers. Our goal is to have them come out of the police academy, apply to Cleveland Heights, get a scholarship, and be one of our.
You don't have to thank me. I work with kids every single day. I drive a school bus, not because I have to, because I love the kids. I've been in the public school system all my life with MRDD, and I just can't get away from it. So you have my donation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angel Fossilo?
Close.
Hi, my name is Angel Fasolo. I live at 3113 Edge Hill. I know I was in contact with everyone on council very briefly concerning the appointment, the vacancy for council after Councilwoman Boyd resigned. I do have personal concerns with who you appointed, and I do understand it's council's choice. I'm glad, considering the last time there was a vacancy, that council made the decision. I was very hopeful. I liked seeing the process this time, and I didn't think it was going to be sent over to the mayor to make a decision. So that was the plus of it. I think there were a number of residents, whether through misunderstanding or just just erroneously thinking that when League of Women Voters during the interview process made a comment about there would be another round for 4 follow-up interviews by council, that perhaps a number of residents, I can speak for myself, I was one of those residents, I know there are other residents who thought maybe they would know who the finalists, for example, were. And had they known who you had narrowed it down to, may have been a bit more vocal with some of their concerns. That there was no reason to send a multitude of concerns about individuals who were applying if they weren't even in that final 4. When I found out that you guys were making a decision, I sent in a few concerns. I'm not expecting my choice to just be picked. In fact, I didn't say who should be picked. I had concerns about a couple of people. And I'm very open that I shared those, not in any great length, not in any great detail. And it was because you guys were going into an executive session and I saw on the meeting that you were going to be voting for somebody. Since you guys have appointed now Councilman Posh, there has been some discussion, or I have had some discussion with some residents and reliving why I don't think it was a wise choice. I'm just going to share it. I'm just sharing this publicly tonight that I don't agree with the choice. I don't always agree with you, Councilman Maddox, but I do support and thank you for voting no. I don't exactly know why the votes came no or yes. There was no discussion about that. I do thank a couple people who wrote back saying they would meet with me and we could further discuss it. But I also felt that those were comments that needed to be given to the city, or to the residents, not just one individual. Why you thought this was a great choice, perhaps maybe why you don't. And I will just conclude that that the individual you did select was very polarizing in his tenure on the Board of Education with the union, with students, with staff, and members of the community. And so those things could have, and I think desperately should have been considered. And I don't fault having a relationship with the school board. I think that's a positive, but I don't think that's necessarily someone you have to appoint into the position.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Alice Dresko.
Evening, Council, Mayor, Law Director. It's late. You've had a long day, right?
We got a ways
Okay.
to go.
My name is Alice Dreska. I'm on Bradford Road, and I represent Quiet Clean Heights, which is a citizen advocacy group. We're trying to raise awareness of the health, hearing, and environmental impacts of gas leaf blowers. Most people know them from the noise and hate the noise, which does have serious impacts, health impacts on its own, but I'm here to talk about the emissions only, not even the dusts tonight. In concert with, thank you, Mayor, for starting Air Quality Awareness Week again. The notice went out in City News today. I hope everybody will read it. Air chemistry is really complex. It's really hard for people to grasp just how much it impacts all of our lives in subtle ways. I can't compare this in any way with Ms. Gonzalez's support of a policeman who's been shot and immediate violence, but health impacts can be very cumulative, slow, happen years later. So our air quality affects all of us. We can't be littering the sky that we all breathe. All right, so Wednesday, Cleveland Heights will begin its first public engagement session on our climate action and resiliency plan. In the last year, several worldwide reports came out and U.S. assessments as well on the state of the climate, and the climate science is very clear. All the experts are saying we need to make severe and immediate reductions in fossil fuel emissions. Okay, so the climate action plan coming up will have all different pieces and parts to it, but many of them will require time, planning, funding, and the real emissions reductions won't happen for years, or maybe within a year, but several years. So what can we do immediately? Because Air quality, pollution, and climate change are all related, and our emissions will go into the atmosphere. They stay there for like hundreds of years, so it's just still accumulating. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit lost. So we do have to do something now. And what can we do quickly, even starting today? We can start with our yards, especially the lawn care industry. Commercial services that use the large gas leaf blowers are more and more common. I think even 10 years ago, you rarely saw that kind of equipment on our residential streets. And now most of our streets are experiencing noise, emissions, and dusts on a daily basis. Okay, I didn't get there, but I just want to say that 1 hour of gas leaf blowing emits as much pollution as 15 cars driving around your neighborhood for 1 hour. And 1 gallon of gasoline produces nearly 20 pounds of carbon emissions. So 1 hour of gas leaf blowing can cancel out an entire year of a young tree's carbon sequestration. And the trees aren't even going to start really taking in much carbon for another 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. So we need to start doing something now. We can start with what we can control, which is the lawn care equipment. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Tresco. And I think Councilwoman Larson is taking that up in your committee. Is that true? Okay. I don't know my mic off. There we go. Okay. Just for the public, we're about to go through a lot of legislation. Stay if you want. You're obviously welcome to do that. So we're going to start with first readings for consideration of adoption.
First, I have ordinance number 065-2024 on first reading. An ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 198-2023 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, repeal the prior version of ordinance number 198-2023, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Zarin.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
A second. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 066-2024 on first reading. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Wade Trim, Inc. for professional engineering services relating to design/control of SSO CH-30 and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Zarin.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On the next one, let me ask the law director. This is 067.
Mr. President.
Go, you can. Oh, okay.
Next, I have resolution number 067-2024 on first reading. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Classic Ford of Madison for the acquisition of one 2024 Ford F-350 DRW cab chassis, one 2024 F-250 Super Cab, and one 2024 Ford Escape for the Department of Public Works, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd like to move to amend Resolution 67-2024 to refer to the purchase of 2 trucks from Classic Ford rather than 3 vehicles and strike the language providing for the purchase of the 2024 Ford Escape.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Just so you know, we did discuss this in committee of the whole. All right. So all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and now on the legislation.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion on the legislation? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Next, I have resolution number 068-2024 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with MTech for the acquisition of a global M3 mechanical street sweeper for the Department of Public Works and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just say I have a lot of neighbors that love this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 069-2024 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with MTech for the acquisition of a V20 standard street sweeper for the Department of Public Works and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 071-2024 on first reading, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Ken Ganley Ford, Inc. for the purchase of 10 2025 Ford Utility Hybrid Police Interceptors for the Police Department and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. And any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 072-2024 on first reading, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Hall Public Safety Upfitters for the purchase and installation of upfitting equipment for 10 2025 Ford Utility Hybrid Police Interceptors for the Police Department and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, I have resolution number 073-2024 on first reading, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Chagrin Valley Dispatch for the purchase of in-car and portable radios for 10 2025 Ford Utility Hybrid Police Interceptors for the Police Department and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
You have a second? Thank you. Just as far as discussion, these 10 police cars are a long time coming. We went a lot of years without replacing cars, and now we've got these electric vehicles. So we're glad to have those vehicles and the necessary equipment with them. And with that, I ask all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 074-2024 on first reading, a resolution approving the County 911 Plan as adopted by the Cuyahoga County 911 Program Review Committee and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 075-2024 on first reading, a resolution selecting Euclid Mayor Kristen Halsmer Gale to serve as a member of the Cuyahoga County 911 Program Review Committee and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 076-2024 on first reading, a resolution recognizing May 10th, 2024 as National Provider Appreciation Day and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by President Kuda, Vice President Russell, Council members Larson, Cobb, Maddox, Petrus, and Posh.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So I see here we want to move 81, 2024 up for first reading for adoption. Do we do that now or, Mr. Law Director? Would we do that now if we're going to move it up or will we do it when we get to it?
Can do it, I think, either at the beginning of the meeting, which is now over under agenda amendments, or when you get to it.
Okay.
Or alternatively, you can just pull it up now.
Mr. President,
options.
I was going to make the motion to move it from first readings up to that if you are.
Please.
Okay. Oh,
Maybe read it, and then,
I was gonna say,
oh, we got to have the motion first.
Right, we'll just wait.
Okay. All right, next, our first readings only.
Ordinance number 070-2024 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing and approving the presentation of entertainment programs in Kane Park for the year 2024 and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin. I have ordinance number 077-2024 on first reading, an ordinance approving the application filed by the mayor and authorizing the establishment of a designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, introduced by President Kuda and Vice President Russell. Next, I have ordinance number 078-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to take all actions necessary to apply for and accept one or more Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council 2024 Energized Community Grants and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin. I have ordinance number 079-2024 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a third amendment to an agreement for the sale of certain real property located at 2228 Noble Road, consisting of several contiguous parcels, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure. I have ordinance number 080-2024 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a development agreement with TWG Development LLC for the construction of a residential development at 2228 Noble Road, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin. Next, I have resolution number 081-2024 on first reading, a resolution acknowledging receipt from the Cedar Lee Special Improvement District of a plan for public services and improvements, and returning said plan to the Board of Directors without comments or recommendations for changes, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 081-2024, resolution acknowledging receipt from the Cedar Lee Special Improvement District of a plan for public services and improvements, and we do so making this legislation effective as an emergency.
Second.
All right, any discussion? I would just say this is fantastic because these SIDs really help organize these business districts. And Cedar Lee is very, very important business district, and they're making progress, but they have challenges, and we're really glad to help them out. And with that, do you have to call the roll, I would believe? Why don't we let's do a roll call vote.
I second. I did.
Oh, yeah,
We can do a roll.
yeah.
Maddox.
Aye.
Kuda.
Aye.
Cobb.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Petrus.
Aye.
Okay, next I have resolution number 082-2024 on first reading, a resolution establishing supplemental processes and procedures for city council development of legislation, introduced by President Kuda. And that's it for first readings only.
Second readings?
Second readings, I have resolution number 055-2024 on second reading, a resolution supporting U.S. House Bill 82, the Social Security Fairness Act, sponsored by Representative Graves, the companion bill U.S. Senate Bill 597, sponsored by Senator Sherrod Brown, which seeks the elimination of the government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision, introduced by Vice President Russell.
Do I have a motion to?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Council Vice President? Oh,
Go ahead.
No.
It's your legislation.
No.
Well, I just hope that my council members pulled up the federal legislation and actually took a look at it before they vote on this. I'm going to vote in favor of the bill, but I do have concerns that it needs some tweaking, and also that the bill is not funded and will further drain the Social Security Trust Fund. So there is a fix, and I'm hopeful that since this is bipartisan legislation pending, that they will fix this legislation to address the funding.
Vice President?
Yes, and it is a bipartisan legislation with over 300 supporters on this bill. The the part of the bill that's very important that I talked about before is public employees, people who work for the city, the government, the counties, who have ever worked in Social Security ever in their lives. If once they begin to work for a public entity, they lose all rights to their Social Security that they actually paid into. So they're not asking for anything for a handout. They actually paid into Social Security. For example, my mother worked in a private company before working for a public entity. She worked for a private company for 10 years. Then she went and got hired as a public employee for the County Board of MRDD, where she worked and retired for 35 years. She is not entitled to her Social Security. Her Social Security is offset by 2/3, where she would have gotten a Social Security pension as well as a public pension, both she paid into. Now she gets an offset of the Social Security pension by 2/3, making her only receive $1,000 per month. That is devastating our seniors. That is devastating the people who actually paid into Social Security. So this legislation and what I'm asking is, this is not a handout for anyone. This is something that people have actually paid into out of their own pocket, but they're being penalized because they work for a public entity. And when you work for a public entity, you are actually serving the community. So I am totally in support of this. Sherrod Brown is in support of this, so as well as Joyce Beatty, as well as Congresswoman Brown. A lot of people on the Republican side and the Democratic side is supporting this. Yes, everything we move has to have some tweaking to it, but there is no need where public employees that pay into a Social Security pension have to continue to suffer when our seniors nowadays are one of the most impoverished communities in our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other discussion? All right, we're ready to, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. We're on to committee reports. Would like to go first, Councilman Petrus.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Housing and Building Committee had a special meeting Friday morning. During this meeting, we continued to work on President Kuda's short-term rental legislation. The committee and staff members have worked many, many hours on this legislation, and I'm happy to announce that we got the legislation to a point where the committee voted to return it to Committee of the Whole for consideration by all council members. The Housing and Building Committee's regularly scheduled meetings are at 4 p.m. on the second Tuesday of the month. This means that our next meeting is this coming Tuesday, May 14th at 4 p.m. in the Executive Conference Room here on the second floor of City Hall. During the meeting, Director Eric Zanf is going to provide an overview of the Residents First initiative in the city of Cleveland. Councilwoman Larson is going to share her takeaways from a recent conference, and we'll also discuss ideas for potential future legislation. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Larson.
Thank you, President Kuda. I have several committees to report on tonight, so bear with me, please. The Finance Committee met this morning. Council was given information on the amounts that we awarded to the nonprofits from the ARPA funds. From the Guidehouse Representative Priyam Khan, 4 of the nonprofits will be working with the city's consultant Guidehouse to refine their proposals for spending ARPA funds. Guidehouse will keep council apprised on a regular basis of any changes and updates as the contracts with the nonprofits are completed. From the Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability Committee, Earth Month in Cleveland Heights finished up with cleanup along Forest Hill Drive. Councilor Petrus and I were out there waving at cars and picking up trash. Catalina Wagers, Cleveland Heights Green Team, announced at the most recent Start Right community meeting that the Cuyahoga County Crime Task Force will be installing 2 cameras to provide information about those who are illegally dumping in the Caledonia Ravine. The Climate and Environmental Sustainability Citizens Committee will be scheduling its first meeting soon, as they do have a quorum of four members. Council will be selecting an applicant to replace Charlie Mossbrook, who recently resigned, for the Transportation and Mobility Committee, so that committee can also convene. Enjoy National Bike Month, which is May, also known as Mary Dunbar Bike Month in Cleveland Heights. The Heights Bicycle Coalition is hosting and supporting a variety of events that are free and open to all. Sunday, May 5th is National Ride a Bike Day, and May 13th to 17th is National Bike to Work Week, which culminates with Bike to Work Day on Friday, May 17th. Locally, HBC, Bike Cleveland, and University Circle, Inc. are hosting Bike to Work Day events. More information can be found on the coalition's website at heightsbicyclecoalition.org. The Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability Committee will be meeting on May 20th at 10 a.m. Lastly, the Public Safety and Health Committee, this is personal as well as from this committee. Noble Elementary traffic calming signage was recently installed, and the police department posted an officer there the first week the signs were in place. I wish to thank Director Clinkscale and Chief Britton for helping to make this happen. That's it. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Councilwoman. Council Vice President?
Thank you, sir. Just want to report that the Planning and Development Committee will meet this Wednesday, May 8th, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. From now on, at every other month for the Planning and Development Committee, there will be a workshop on different subjects regarding HUD. This subject will be a review on Section 108 Prime, which is CBG funds. The next one will be around loans. So there will be a workshop session 30 minutes prior to each meeting so that the TAG group that we're trying to establish, as well as council, will be able to learn any and everything they need to know. So the federal government has decided to come in and do a Zoom meeting for 30 minutes regarding planning and development. Also, I just want to give a shout out, as Karen, the teachers union did. I want to really thank the Cleveland Heights unions that really stepped out to adopt Oxford Elementary School. We stuffed 290 bags. Most people are not aware that Oxford Elementary School is about 80% in poverty. And we actually gave them foods. We gave them books. We gave them toys, gift cards, coloring books, crayons, gift cards for Dave's Grocery Store for $25, as well as McDonald's and Burger King gift cards as well included into the backpacks. We had a presentation with school employees from around the Northeast Ohio who presented the 290, we call them bags of love, to the students. And it was a great time, and it was a feeling that you could not believe. When you give back to the community and give back to the kids that truly need it, it just warms your heart. So I want to thank the Policemen's Union, the Cleveland Heights Policemen's Union especially, the Cleveland Heights Firefighters Union especially, the Cleveland Heights Sanitation Workers Local 880 especially, and all of the school employees in Cleveland Heights as well. So thank you all so very much, along with the churches and the residents who absolutely participated. I think with this initiative, we raised over $8,000.
That's great.
Mr. President?
Yes.
It's 860.
Much, 860, local, Labor's Local 860. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any other reports? All right. It was a great event. I loved every minute of it. Committee reports, sorry. Oh, I did that already. Old business. New business. Oh, you got old business? Oh, there we go. All right. I'm trying to fly now.
I'm sorry, old
That's
business.
okay.
I just sent out a immediate press release regarding the partnership with Judge Costello, myself, and the League of Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. We're doing a event at the brand new Noble Library, June 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning. where we will do our tenant landlord series for an hour, and the Legal Aid Society will provide 14, you all listening, 14 lawyers to debrief you on anything you need as far as tenant landlord, civil issues, everything you need. You will have an opportunity to have a one-on-one session with 14 lawyers. This event will take place from 10 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. on June 29th. So mark your calendars for all of you residents who are having problems with your landlords, vice versa. Please come out and make your voices heard and get the information you need privately. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any new business? How about council comments? There we go. Let's start with Councilwoman Larson.
Thank you, President Kuda. I'm just asking for the public to support Noble Fest 2024. This annual neighborhood celebration kicks off with Noble Fest at Noble School on Friday, May 17th, and continues on Saturday, May 18th with the Noble Gardeners Market, the Home Repair Resource Center's tool sale and open house, Noble Road Presbyterian Church's pie sale, and Oxford Schools Carnival. You can find more information on the Noble Neighbors website, nobleneighbors.com. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Petrus.
Changed my mind.
You can do that. Anybody else? All right. I'm not going to say a word. But great turnout tonight. Love that we're making progress on ARPA. I guess I am saying a word. We're going to vote. There's a likelihood that we'll vote May 20th on Nobility Court. So I hope that anybody who wants to speak at that time does, and certainly any council members that have additional questions, get them answered at that time. And with that, this meeting is adjourned at 9:30. Oh my God.